you care for me, but don't worry about me, just say a prayer for me. Cause we all going one day, so just prepare for me. And I'ma live to the fullest, so don't be scared for me. Just say a prayer for me, yeah.
Pray for me. If you love me, just pray for me. Pray for me. If you love me, just pray for me.
I used to have problems getting it off. Now I'm dripping in sauce. First I'm hitting the gas, then you get the exhaust. Told the world that I'm coming, I'm working to be a boss. It's consequence for them actions. I teach my sons that it costs. All this drama in my life is fucking with my conscience. Caught the little chain, they wonder how I got this. Swear these niggas lame, why they worried about my pockets? Tore out the frame, now she wanna keep me hostage. Better than ever, it's really no room for ever. Play for keeps and never settle, no negotiate with the devil. I'm getting harder to measure, I give it all, cause I'm destined, I'm too involved and I'm ready, so through it all I'ma get it. I know you care for me, but don't worry about me, just say a prayer for me. Cause we all going one day, so just prepare for me. And I'ma live to the fullest, so don't be scared for me. Just say a prayer for me, yeah.
Pray for me. If you love me, just pray for me. Pray for me. If you love me, just pray for me. Can you pray for me?
Something wrong, somebody pray for me. Psychic said it ain't safe for me. I pulled the car with 2 snakes on it, intertwined into an 8 or something. Bottom line, it was an ace on it. Pray for me. I seen a demon with a face on it. I don't look in the mirror now. I know them voices in my head from the spirit realm. I know it's people under the stairs and in the ceiling found. I feel my niggas in the air who ain't here around me. I know you possibly sincerely care about me, but I still ain't going nowhere without the ham on me. Just say a prayer for me. I know you care for me, but don't worry about me, just say a prayer for me. Cause we all going one day, so just prepare for me. And I'ma live to the fullest, so don't be scared for me. Just say a prayer for me, yeah.
Pray for me. If you love me, just pray for me. Pray for me. If you love me, just pray for me. Can you pray for me?
Let's take a look at some recent cases. Okay, I'm looking at this one because I brought it up in the preview for this episode about the sister in Baltimore. It says former Baltimore State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby found guilty on 2 counts of perjury. It says perjury convictions underscore fall from power of the city's former top prosecutor. It says after roughly 6 hours of deliberation, a federal jury in Greenbelt returned 2 guilty verdicts in the perjury trial of former Baltimore State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby Thursday afternoon. It says following 3 days of testimony this week, the first of 2 long anticipated trials concluded with closing arguments Wednesday. After Mosby decided not to take the stand in her defense, Mosby faces a maximum sentence of 5 years in federal prison for each of the 2 counts of perjury, though anything approaching a maximum sentence is far from likely. Says, quote, "This case is about a lawyer and a public servant who placed her own selfish interest above the truth," end quote. Let's see. Just get to see if we can find out a little bit more. Okay. It says, quote, this is her defense talking, or this is the information that was derived from her defense. Quote, in its January 3rd, 2022 indictment, the Department of Justice accused the city's former top prosecutor of lying about experiencing financial hardship because of the COVID-19 pandemic in order to take $90,000 in 2 withdrawals from her city retirement savings account under a provision of the Federal CARES Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act. The indictment noted that Mosby received her full salary of $247,955 from January 1st, 2020 through December 29th, 2020, the period when she used the withdrawals to purchase 2 Florida homes worth roughly $1 million. Moby's defense claimed that the COVID hardship she suffered was related to a travel business she had registered as Mahogany Elite LLC, first reported by the Baltimore Brew, but never launched and never disclosed on ethics forums. Says the January 22 indictment also charged Mosby 43 with 2 counts of mortgage application fraud related to her purchase of the 2 vacation properties. Attorneys for Mosby had previously convinced U.S. District Judge Lydia K. Grigsby to hold separate trials for the perjury and mortgage fraud charges. In the second case, prosecutors allege Mosby misled mortgage lenders by failing to disclose a $45,000 IRS tax lien on her mortgage applications and claiming that one property, an 8-bedroom house near Disney World, was actually a second home when she had already hired a property management company to oversee its rental use. The home has since been sold at a substantial profit, end quote. I'm going to just stop right there. You could look this up for yourself if you're interested, but you know what I'm saying? I believe they have to get elected in, you know what I'm saying, to that position in her city, you know what I'm saying, or in that city. But she was doing some nice numbers right there if that was her base, but, you know, that's deep. Let's look at something else, another city. It says, Cincinnati, why the culture of corruption at Cincinnati Hall. Let's see, City Hall. It says, quote, since Cincinnati went to a city manager form of government in 1925, accusations of corruption, much less actual arrests and criminal charges, have been as rare as hen's teeth. End quote. Okay, so we go look at Cincinnati. So, quote, but now in the space of 10 months, 3 city council members, Democrat Tamaya Dennard in February, Republican Jeff Pastor on November 10th, and now Democratic and mayoral frontrunner P.G. Sittenfield have been arrested by federal agents and charged with felonies that centered around taking bribes from developers with business before city council. Let me see, end quote. When was this? This is November 18th, 2020. Okay. Let me see. Okay. Quote, Dennard left council and entered a guilty plea in June to a charge of honest services wire fraud. Pastor, who says he is innocent and refuses to quit council, is charged with 10 felony counts, including bribery, extortion, money laundering, and wire fraud in 2 pay-to-play schemes. Pastor and Sittenfield are entitled to the presumption of innocence until proven guilty. That's the way our system works, thankfully. It says, in the past, Cincinnati City Council on its worst days has been looked on as a hotbed of political posturing and tomfoolery, but now the impression the public is getting is that it is the center of a culture of corruption, end quote. Yeah, you can look up this article if you want to. This is on an NPR network. I found the couple on this, man. It was like 5 council members, you know what I'm saying? The feds was on them.
Former Cincinnati City Council member Tamaya Dennard will spend 18 months in prison. She learned her fate this afternoon in federal court. Investigative reporter Paula Christian was there. She explains why U.S. District Court Judge Susan DeLotte chose to send Dennard to prison despite pleas from her attorneys for home confinement.
Before sentencing Dennard, Judge DeLotte said she had given this case more consideration than any other case in 25 years. She praised Dennard for her public service, but said the crime of public corruption is too serious and deterrence too necessary to not send her to prison. This is video of Dennard leaving court today. She told the judge that it was never her goal to use her counsel seat for power or personal gain. She said, quote, I did let my personal struggles get the best of me. Roughly a dozen of Denard's friends and families were in the courtroom, including Joe Mallory of the NAACP in Cincinnati.
It's unfortunate, the sentence that was given, but, we believe in redemption. I believe that Tamaya will take advantage of this opportunity to do even more good in the community.
Denard won't have to report to prison for at least 3 months, or possibly even longer due to COVID. Prosecutors and Denard's attorney declined to comment. Denard also did not comment to reporters as she left the courthouse. Denard is the first of 3 Cincinnati City Council members arrested this year by the FBI on public corruption charges. Jeff Pastor and P.G. Sittenfeld's cases are just starting to work their way through the federal court system. Paula Christian, WCPO 9 I-Team.
Who led the public corruption probe at the Ohio State House also have ties to the case against former Cincinnati Councilman P.G. Sittenfeld. Today, jurors heard secret recordings of those agents in the trial of former Ohio House Speaker Larry Householder. Investigative reporter Paula Christian, who covered both of these cases, tells us how they intersect.
While FBI undercover agents Rob, Brian, and Vinny were building corruption cases at City Hall in 2019, they were also in Columbus, posing as developers who wanted to bring sports betting to a new hotel in Cincinnati. These are 2 separate cases with a lot of overlap. FBI agent Nathan Holbrook, who led the Sittenfeld case, also oversaw the undercover operation at the State House, moving 3 agents back and forth between Cincinnati and Columbus. This is video of Sittenfeld meeting with an undercover agent in November of 2018.
Honestly, I can sit here and say I can deliver the votes. Okay.
The FBI agents posed as developers who wanted Sittenfeld's help to develop Convention Place Mall into a hotel with sports betting. The scale of what they wanted from Householder was much bigger. They asked his proxy, lobbyist Neil Clark, to make sure that sports betting was controlled by the state lottery and not the Casino Commission to help their business. In 2020, the FBI arrested Householder, Clark, and 3 others in the largest public corruption case in Ohio history. Clark took his own life a year after the arrest. Householder is on trial with ex-GOP chair Matt Borges. Lobbyist Juan Cepedis and political strategist Jeff Longstreth have pleaded guilty. Cepedis testified this week and told jurors, quote, "I'm not proud of it."
I think jurors would assume that if someone's already pled guilty to paying a bribe, that means someone must be guilty of receiving the bribe.
Northern Kentucky law professor Ken Katkin watched the Sittenfeld trial and this one. He says in both cases, the key to a conviction is intent, whether Householder and Borges meant to trade money for a nuclear bailout to help Akron-based First Energy.
Whether Householder simply was a supporter of nuclear power, or conversely, whether this was a quid pro quo exchange where First Energy was purchasing a legislative outcome from Householder.
Prosecutors say it was a $61 million scheme to funnel dark money from First Energy and push through a $1.3 billion bailout. Householder is accused of spending hundreds of thousands to pay off credit card debt and fix up his Florida home. A jury convicted Sittenfeld of bribery and attempted extortion. He has not yet been sentenced. Reporting from downtown, Paula Christian, WCPO 9.
You know what I'm saying? The feds was on him for corruption, you know what I mean? It says, can Cincinnati recover from culture of corruption reputation, excuse me, while bribery cases linger in the court system? You know what I mean? If it's a culture, if they're saying it's a culture of corruption, which I don't disagree with, you know what I mean? That means it's a way of life. Culture, that's a way of life. You know what I'm saying? And again, it's going back to, you know, what we were talking about with these salaries and stuff, you know, local elected officials, you know what I'm saying? They're saying the average, you know, maybe, you know what I'm saying, is $56,000 a year, or, you know what I mean, it could be less, you know what I'm saying? And it could even be a volunteer basis in some places, you know, but, you know, I don't have the numbers right now on Cincinnati, but you know what I'm saying? If y'all interested, maybe one day I could do another video about this.
Finding a former Cincinnati councilman guilty but waiting to approve a plea agreement. Thanks for staying with us here at 4:30. I'm Cherie Palello.
And I'm Ashley Kirkland. Today, a federal judge pressed the pause button on a deal Jeff Pastor reached with prosecutors. WLWT News 5's Todd Dykes is live downtown with more on what happened in court today. Todd?
Yeah, Ashley and Sheree, what happened, what took place about 3 blocks east of City Hall this afternoon in a federal courthouse is sure to be a big topic of conversation here among elected officials at City Hall. Former Councilman Jeff Pastor and his attorney, Karen Sevier, made their way into the federal courthouse on East 5th Street a little before 2 o'clock. The purpose of today's hearing was for Pastor to change his plea in a bribery and extortion case from not guilty to guilty, which he did. The 39-year-old admitted he took cash from undercover agents posing as development investors in exchange for favorable votes a short time after Pastor was sworn in as a member of City Council. Now, U.S. District Judge Matthew McFarland said he found Pastor guilty of 1 count of honest services wire fraud and agreed to let Pastor go home to wait until his sentencing hearing. Pastor had no comment as he and his attorney left the federal courthouse. Now, in a move considered somewhat unusual, Judge McFarland decided to wait to accept the plea agreement that both sides, Pastor and federal prosecutors, had agreed to until McFarland has a chance to learn more information about the case and in particular about Jeff Pastor's history, as the judge said, information that's going to be part of a pre-sentencing report. Not clear at this point when that report will be made available. We'll be keeping a close eye on all this and have more in the coming weeks and months. For now, reporting live outside City Hall, Todd Dykes, WLWT News 5.
Now, Todd, we know the plea agreement calls for a maximum sentence of 2 years in prison. Does that still look to be the case here?
Well, actually, I'd say right now things are at least a little bit on the murky side. Both sides agreed to a maximum sentence of 24 months. To your point, the judge could impose a much lengthier sentence. The judge, again, noting that Pastor could spend the next 2 decades in prison. At this point, all we know is that the judge wants more information before he makes a final decision, again, to accept the plea agreement and then to issue the sentence that Pastor would face.
Todd,
that's what we know for now, Ashley. A little bit convoluted, but we'll be staying on top of it.
Yeah, you helped explain it for us well, Todd. Thanks so much.
Let's see, the next one we're going to look at is what's this? North Carolina. When was this? This was last year, June 27th, 2022. It says, North Carolina town set to cease existence. Damn. As state treasurer calls for criminal charges. It says, quote, even though the state's auditor's office released an investigative report last fall exposing financial violations of officials in the small town of East Laurinburg, an old textile mill town near the South Carolina border, the district attorney for Scotland County has so far declined to pursue a criminal case against the town's former financial officer concerning the report's recommended charges of embezzlement. It says, for the first time in North Carolina's history, the local government commission used a new law, Senate Bill 314, to vote unanimously to dissolve the town's charter, which is scheduled to take place on June 30th. Wow. So they shut the whole town down. It don't exist no more. Wow. Well, as of whatever, the 30th of June back then. Oh, I think that's what it said. Yeah. Let me see real quick. The 15-page report published by State Auditor Beth Wood in October found that former East Laurinburg finance officer Jennifer Lett used more than 11,000 of the town's funds to pay personal utility bills and other questionable expenses. Of 28 checks signed by Lett, 22 were signed by her mother, Teresa Haywood, who served as a town commissioner during the time period in question, according to the report, end quote. Wow. That's deep. So, these people's actions caused, their town to lose their charter, so they're no longer incorporated municipality within the corporation jurisdiction, or corporate jurisdiction, I should say. You see what I'm saying? But so, Tell me what you think in the comments, you know what I'm saying? Like it, you know what I mean? If you liked it, you know, dislike it if you don't, you know what I mean? But, you know, it just comes down to, like, it's a lot of interesting stuff going on with these politicians making, you know, all these numbers, you know what I'm saying? And then having a base number and still, you know what I'm saying, they still, you know, looking to get more while the regular people, you know what I'm saying, the average citizen with a capital C, you know what I'm saying, is netting less, you know what I mean, over this time period. So annually, as a, you know, over the year, as the article was saying in the report from, you know, was saying from Congress, you know what I'm saying. So yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed this. You know what I'm saying. This was interesting to take a look at, and keep coming back and checking me out. You know what I'm saying. Just my 2 cents. You know, that's all I can give you is just my 2 cents. I appreciate your time. Just My 2 Cent podcast was also brought to you and sponsored by TasteJPSalsa.com. JP Salsa. You can come to their website, TasteJPSalsa.com, and check out the black beans and corn, blueberries, peaches, honey with habanero, honey apple, and roasted garlic. Either one you can't lose, because I'm not sharing mine. TasteJPSalsa.com. If it's not JP's, you can keep it.